Hey, what's going on, guys? Mr. Shadow Raw with too many opinions, and so I'm should have been getting myself adjusted before I shot this video, but like everything else, I was procrastinating, and so go down. There we go. As you can tell, there still no. What did I just do to my eye? Anyways, as you can tell, there's still no special background or anything. It's in progress. It's in the works. It's gonna take some time. What did I just do to my eye? Anyways, as you can tell from the title above, this topic's all about costumes and costume changes that have occurred in the cinematic universe. And to start this off, you have to ask yourself, how important are the actual costumes to the movies themselves? And the answer is very important. Because if you end up having a retarded looking bat suit for Batman, let's say Batman Forever, you know, with the bat nipples. Not that was one of the reasons that the movie was bad, but it was just the icing on the cake, if anything. So it's something I guess it can also make and break. I mean, Superman Returns, for example, the costume, it looked like a child's underwear, get up. So it can make or break, I say, a film, but it's not everything to the film. It's still very important. Now CGI, the same thing as with CGI. For example, what I want to use for this was the Incredible Hulk and the Hulk. Both those movies, as you can tell, I take all three Hulks. So the CGI for Hulk was who was the director for that? That was the one that was really bad. It just looked bad. It looked like something from PlayStation 2 or your Xbox 360. The graphics just didn't look it. Then when you did the Incredible Hulk, you saw a lot of detail, and just how proud they were to work on that, and the work shows. So when you do CGI, or even the Marvel's Hulk, which is it's somewhere in between both of those, in my opinion, but it just shows that the CGI is just as important as the real life costumes that the actors wear. And the amount of quality that goes into them, the amount of thought that goes into them is extremely important, and we need to understand that changing certain things from the comic books are okay, but doing a complete redesign can be disastrous. I mean, it can be bad. For example, some of the Deadpool costumes that they showed in kind of the concept art were like, what were you thinking? They tried to change Deadpool completely, it looked like, and all they did was keep the red and the swords, and that's basically it. And to going with the authentic look for Deadpool, which there were some differences, but overall it was still a great suit. And my opinion is the physical costumes that the actors wear are a lot better than putting them in a green suit and telling them to jump around and do this and that. That's just my opinion, because CGI just isn't there. Now, the reason I started making this film is because this video was because of the costume concept for Harley Quinn's for Suicide Squad. A lot of people were like, what's up with this costume? She doesn't look like the Harley Quinn we know from the animated series or some of the comic books. And in a way she does, in a way she doesn't. She looks like the Lollipop Chainsaw video game, whatever that cheerleader one was. She looks a lot like from that, but at the same time, that's coming down to the acting too. I think it's really going to show. Now they do show her in some checkered stuff later on, and I think you're going to see hints and stuff at older costumes and newer costumes and this and that. They wanted to do something a little different with it. They didn't want to go with the traditional red, black, and white. But Harley Quinn being played by Margaret Ruby. Just from what I've seen from the trailers, it looks absolutely amazing. It's a movie I'm I'm definitely going to see, not for the Suicide Squad, not for Deadshot, but frankly just Harley Quinn. Deadshot's costume looks awesome. I wasn't a big fan of Killer Crocs. Captain Boomerang, I'm actually just interested where they see what they go with that character. But Harley Quinn, I think, will be the make or break in that movie. And it really doesn't have to do anything to do with her costume. It's going to be doing more or less the acting. Like I said, the movie studios thought about going with the traditional black with the red, white, and the card logos. But I think when it came down to it was just creative, more or less idea. Going with this seemed more practical, and it does look a little more practical than getting her the jumpsuit with the big old ear, or the big old, things coming out of her head and stuff, and the one giant jumpsuit. And so I think this was more street style. The only thing that I did not like about the new look was the blue in the hair. I understand the pink, but I mean, I would have gone with the red and the black. I think that would have made it just a little bit better, and fans would have accepted it a little bit better. But overall, it's just going to come down to how Miss Ruby does her acting, and from what I've seen, she already looks amazing. She already sounds amazing. I know it's not the animated series voice, but it still looks great. Everything about it just looks absolutely great. Now, I did a video on the Joker a while back, and who's being played by Jared Leto, and theories on whether it's actually the Joker, and I'm still up in the air with that, even though they keep pushing it more and more of him actually being the Joker, which I hope's not the case. I hope there's a crazy twist or whatever. I don't like the Guido style, and just, I don't know. I think it would just be better if it was Dick Grayson. That's just my opinion. And there's really is. I could sit here all day and talk about the tattoos and this and that, and I don't know. Jared Leto's an amazing actor. He showed us way before he's even won an Oscar. The guy can sing, he can act, he can, I think he's done some writing in the past. So a lot of this is, we've picked actors that a lot of people like. I don't know if they can really pull it off, but from the trailers are showing they can. So I say give them faith, give them time. Now, the segment that I always like to do is the good, the bad, the ugly. And this one, we're going to add the cosplay. And this one, the good. These are good costumes that I felt that were just, when I thought, okay, what's a good costume? These are what came to mind right away. First of all, I like the Man of Steel. Superman for the Man of Steel. The costume looking more like battle armor style. I just thought it looked better. I thought it was the best looking of the Superman costumes yet, and I've seen some pretty bad ones out there, and even concept arts. Christopher Nolan's Batman, I loved every single one of those. As the movies went on, I felt the costumes were just getting better and better and better. And so I feel like those were the best Batman costumes we've had yet. Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, and Spider-Man in general, I love the Spider-Man costumes. I love the ideas of the costumes. Really, that's one of those costumes I just feel like you just can't go too bad with. Even though I did see some concept art on Spider-Man that just, it was not great. I mean, some of them looked really bad, but with, Spider-Man Homecoming, the costume just looks, to me, incredible. It's what we see in Spider-Man, and more or less that one's going to be pulled off by the actor. I forgot what the kid's name is, but best of luck to him. As far as Marvel goes, I have not really seen a costume I didn't like. Besides Iron Man 2, when he had the suitcase, and he put the suitcase. I wasn't a big fan of that one. I understand it was from the comic books, there was that style, but it just, I don't know, something about it just didn't get with me. A lot of people gave Captain America crap about his, but I still thought his looked good. Marvel has done an amazing job with their costumes and how they just want to portray that character, even if they're not saying anything, but just how they look needs to say something, and I think they've done a great job with that. Deadpool, phenomenal. We talked a little bit about that. I really enjoyed that costume. I thought that costume was what it needed to look like. Now the next bad, these are the ones that they weren't good, but they weren't ugly. So that once I was like, all right, they have to be in the bad column. Superman Returns. Now at the time, I thought it was probably the best Superman costume, but they did a lot of stupid things with that costume that made it look like just like a child's pajamas set. You can't tell in the film, but in the actual costume, there's little Superman logos inside the blue and the red and the yellow, and all over you see these little Superman symbols, but they're very small. You can barely tell that they're there. And I was like, why is that even needed? Do we really need that? And I don't know. Then it was fit to the character, and he didn't look like he was, there. And I guess that was more the actor than it was the actual, costume, but it wasn't great. Any X-Men film, I just not. Sorry, my list fell. I've not been impressed with any of the X-Men films. None of them have been, wow, that's a badass X-Men costume. I know it's kind of hard to make the blue and the yellow leotard thing look badass, but I really do feel like they could do a better job than what they have been with the leather jackets and leather fetish costumes. I don't know. I didn't see the new one, so I guess I really can't talk about how some of the outfits look. And I probably won't see the new one until it comes out on DVD, or I can rent it from Redbox, because I've been so disappointed with the X-Men franchise that I don't care to go and see them. So, but moving on. This one kind of personally hurt. I was super excited for this film to come out. I was there the first night it premiered. I was all for it, and then watching it, I was just like, I enjoyed it, but it just was a big disappointment, and that's the Green Lantern costume. I understand where you had to go with the CGI. It's hard to make that style look, I guess, as good as it does in the comics, but with looking like veins and like your inner muscle tissues, they could have done better. They could have just went with armor to where it just looked like Under Armour shirt with the pads and stuff. That's what they could have done. That's what they should have done. And then just do the CGI glow around it. And that, to me, would have been a better. Now, it's better than the actual costume that Ryan Reynolds tried on. That was god-awful, and I'm glad they stayed away from that. But, yeah, so that was just a huge disappointment. And then, really, the Harley Quinn... Or not the Harley Quinn, I'm sorry. Halle Berry's Catwoman, that was more sex appeal than it was actual super villain hero, whatever the hell that film tried to be. And, like, I liked how it did look sexy, it did look like cat, but it just wasn't good. It wasn't Christopher Nolan's portrayal of Catwoman, which I thought was the best portrayal I've seen yet. Getting down to the ugly, of course I said it, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Bat Nibbles, those were just the absolute worst ones of all the Batmans in my opinion. Even the new one, I wasn't a big fan of that, but it still looked better than what Batman Forever and Batman and Robin looked like. Ghost Rider, now I put this one on the list, and I haven't talked about any of the TV shows for a reason, because I'm going to go into that later in a different video. But the Ghost Rider, where he had the really big hips, and like they came up to here on him, and they stuck out, and God, that was so bad. The first Ghost Rider, that was one of the ugliest portrayals of a superhero costume I think I've ever seen. And the one Spider-Man costume that I did put on this list as far as ugly is the Venom costume. Yeah. Anybody that works on Photoshop knows you can take an image, colored image, hit grayscale, and it turns gray. That's all they did for that Spider-Man costume. They just hit grayscale. And there was no creativity, nothing to what it looks like Venom should be. And so it was a complete disgrace. And when you did have Venom, it's like, what the hell is that? His head was super big, and it was awful. And lastly, I put cosplay in here because I've seen a lot of individuals. I follow a lot on Instagram. Some people who just go out and they make these amazing costumes, and they put their heart and soul in it, and they look better than some of the ones they do in the movies. Now, granted, I've never seen an actual badass Green Lantern one, but I understand that's got to be kind of hard. But I've seen some awesome Captain Americas, awesome Spider-Mans. I've seen some Iron Mans. I've seen the Hulkbuster that was at cosplay or Comic-Con, and that was insane. And so, movie studios, I feel like they should, if they're having trouble with ideas for these characters, look to cosplayers. They know what they're doing. They know how something should look, how it should fit, how it should move. And these people who are, may or may not have degrees in this, but they love it and they have this passion for it and they do such a great job. And last thing I want to touch before I end up sending you guys off and saying thanks for watching this video is, remember, every time you see a costume remastered in a new film or a new idea of a costume or something, and people get tired of it changing all the time, just remember that it changes in the comic books as well. So just seeing it on the big screen doesn't mean it didn't happen in the comic books too, because more than likely it did, especially with Iron Man, who jumped through suits all the time. So thanks for watching this video. Please put down your opinions and stuff below. If you think my good, the bad, the ugly list was stupid or whatever, or you think I should add this and this and this. Obviously there are so many costumes out there that I could have added, but I don't have time to do all that. But leave your comments, subscribe, like, all that stuff below. I greatly appreciate it, and thanks for watching, guys.